Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. We'll just give it a couple more minutes before we officially get started. Just want to welcome you all who have joined early.
Buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos. Vamos a dar unos minutos antes de iniciar para que inicien otras personas. Gracias por haberse unido a la reunión temprano.
Okay, it is 5 o'clock, and I believe we are live on YouTube, and our meeting is being recorded. So we can go ahead and get started. Just want to welcome everyone to our 38th Arvin Lamont CSC meeting. Before we open it up for our usual welcome and introductions, we'll just take a few minutes to walk through our housekeeping slides, get interpretation set up, and then we will jump into the agenda. So here you're seeing instructions for how to set up the interpretation channel. And I am happy to pass it to Tanya from Lingüística, who will share the instructions.
Thank you, Liz. Buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos a su reunión. Nada más queremos recordarles que ya la interpretación está encendida y si ustedes desean escuchar la junta en español e ingresaron con una computadora, en la parte de abajo del menú de Zoom van a ver el icono del mundo. Por favor, seleccionen ese icono y seleccionen el canal de español. También pueden silenciar el audio original para que escuchen nada más una voz. Si ustedes ingresaron con un teléfono móvil o con una tableta, sus opciones son un poco diferentes. Necesitan tocar su pantalla y buscar los 3 puntitos donde dice más o more, ya sea en la parte de arriba o de abajo de su menú. Seleccionen donde dice interpretación de idioma. Después seleccionen español. Nuevamente silenciar el audio original. Y por último, el botón que diga done, listo, finalizado o terminado. Si necesitan ayuda, pueden dejarnos saber en el chat. Muchas gracias. Ahora voy a dar mis instrucciones en inglés. Hello, everyone. This is just a reminder that we already have interpretation feature on. So if you're a monolingual English speaker, we do ask you to please select the English channel. That way you can hear the communication from Spanish into English. If you're joining with a computer, you will see a glove at the bottom of your Zoom menu. Please click on the glove and select English. If you're joining with a cell phone or a tablet, your options are a little different. You need to tap your screen, find the 3 dots either on top or at the bottom of your screen, select a language interpretation, select English, and then select done. If you need any help accessing the interpretation, please let us know in the chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tanya. And give me one moment while I add you to the interpretation. Okay. I see a thumbs up, but I'll just pause for a moment to see, is anyone having any difficulty hearing any of the Spanish interpretation before we move forward? Please do let us know at any point if you're not able to hear the interpretation. We're always happy to stop the meeting, and we do want to make sure that everyone is able to hear. So don't be afraid to interrupt. I'll keep moving through our housekeeping slides. So here we have our renaming conventions. And this is important for our attendance tracking and our stipend distribution process. So we ask that if you are a member of the CSC, please indicate that in your Zoom name. And for our residents, we also ask that you put an R in your Zoom name to help us keep track for those stipends. And on this screen, we have more reminders about our naming conventions, just to help us keep track of who is in the meeting. So if you are here representing an agency or organization, we also ask that you put that in your Zoom name. And also, if you're a member of the public, please put a letter P in your name. On this slide is our virtual meeting etiquette. So we ask for folks to stay on mute unless you are speaking. And if you are on the phone, you can press *6 to mute and unmute. We also ask for folks to raise your Zoom hand if you would like to share a comment or a question, just to help us keep track. And if you are on the phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. And another reminder for our residents in the stipend program, we ask that you stay on for at least 75% of tonight's meeting, and that is 90 minutes of our 2 hours together. And on this slide, we have a review of our group agreements. We typically take the time to read through all of these, but hopefully they should be pretty familiar at this point. I won't take the time to read through them all tonight's meeting, just considering the packed agenda. But I'll just ask maybe for folks who are on the quieter side, we really do encourage you to take a chance and take up some more space in these meetings. And if you're someone who tends to talk a lot, consider stepping back a little bit to make space for others in the meeting to share and contribute. Ultimately, we are all here to build consensus and find shared values to help us achieve the best results. And on this last slide that I'll share is our agenda. So we will go into our introductions in just a moment. Then we'll have our action items tracker review. Then we'll spend some time reviewing the SERP tracker. And then we will have a SERP implementation update. Then we will have a few standing updates, and then we will wrap up and consider some upcoming agenda topics. And I'll stop sharing my screen and happy to transition us to our welcome and introductions. I haven't mentioned it yet, but my name is Liz, and I am one of the Harder & Company facilitators. I'm joined here by my co-facilitator, Amy. We are happy to invite our Air District representative and our co-leads to share some opening remarks at this time as well. I believe I see, I'm not sure if I see our co-leads here, but maybe Jessica, you can get us started.
I'll get started, and I do see Bianca's name, so I'll pass to Bianca. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jessica Olson. I am the Director of Community Strategies and Resources with the Air District, and I'm so grateful to be in this space with all of you, and grateful for those of you who gave us so many great ideas on what to tackle during today's meeting. As you know, we've spent a lot of the past few meetings really honing in on a couple of items. And some of the recent feedback we've heard is, well, what about the other incentives measures in our SERP? We've talked about air monitoring in a past few meetings. We've talked about a couple of really key items, but we haven't talked about the incentives overall. So we're grateful that the majority of today's meeting will just give you a highlight and a refresher on everything that we're doing and the progress we're making. and then also touch on our typical standing updates with some really great partnerships we've been able to form through all the feedback you've helped us with. So I just want to thank you again for all of the feedback and helping craft this agenda. And also, just as always, a big thank you to Cesar Aguirre and Bianca Santoyo, who do such a great job in helping take all of the information we hear from you all and helping us craft the presentations. So I'll pass it to Bianca for any opening remarks.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I wanted to echo what Jessica was mentioning, the priority of the SERP, and having that information from the community is important. And seeing that it's a packed agenda, I'll leave it up to the community to give any updates or any suggestions of what we want to see from here and on. And I appreciate everything from like coming from the Harder Company, from the Air District, and all the state agencies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bianca and Jessica.
I do see
And-
Cesar on here as well, sorry.
Yes, I was going to say I see Cesar as well, so would love to invite you.
Yeah, just a quick thank you to everyone. I know the SERP tracker is going to be a big part of how we take advantage of the 617 process. So if there's any particular projects that we want to move forward with, or something that we, something that we see that we would like to be changed, I think bringing it up before rather than later is definitely a good idea. So I think taking a look at the SERP tracker is definitely an important part of this process. So thank you for that.
Yes, thank you both. Really appreciate the role that the co-leads play in making sure that these presentations are actually addressing all of the questions and concerns that have come from the CSC. And we do have a packed agenda tonight, so I will continue moving us along. Next up, we have our action item tracker review. So we dedicate this time at every meeting to help facilitate the transparency and accountability between the Air District and the CSE. This tracker, as we know, is updated frequently to make sure that the CSE is able to track the progress that is being made towards your suggestions and your ideas. And as Eric shares his screen and walks through these items, we are happy to hear any clarifying questions and anything that we're not able to answer tonight. We will make sure to track and bring that back at another meeting. And so I'm happy to pass it to Eric to walk us through those action items.
Thank you so much, Liz. I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen. Can the folks on this call see my screen? See some head nodding, thumbs up, so that's great. All right, so as always, this is our action item tracker. I'll go ahead and kind of go over some of our sections right here. This is our online version. I know folks get a mailed version of just some of the highlighted ones from our last meeting. And our first section is in progress, second complete, third ongoing, and fourth comment noted. We have action items that we need to address in the first two sections, in the in progress and the complete section. So I'll go ahead and click right here and it should guide me down. So our first in progress action item is for the district to discuss the implementation of the outreach for the vehicle replacement program. I know we're going to talk more about the outreach subcommittee a little bit later today and in some more action items. Our next action item that will actually be moved to the complete section after today is the Air District has updated the SERP tracker with highlights to indicate the most recent updates. So, and I know if folks have any more suggestions to make that more visible, please feel free to reach out to the district. Go ahead and go back to the top, go to our completed section. And again, our outreach subcommittee meeting will be on April 11th. So pretty soon in the next couple of weeks to discuss the vehicle replacement incentive measures and to find ways to share information on programs and how to share the implementation of these programs to the community. Next. Our next item was due to some folks having questions about boundaries. And I know the Air District and co-leads have reached out to that CSC member. Scrolling down. Alrighty. And again, our third action item due to the for the outreach subcommittee, it will be held in April. And our last action item is for, I know some folks had questions about recruitment. So we did do an onboarding process last year. And if we do see any significant changes for any drops in residents or anything, we will be reaching out to the CSC. But as for now, we have a great group of folks and, you know, we're happy to share more information on that at a later time. So thank you so much. And I'll leave it open for questions.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, we'll just, oh, I see a hand up from Cesar. Go ahead.
Yeah, do we have a time for the outreach subcommittee meeting?
We do, and we'll share some slides later that'll go into details about the outreach subcommittee meeting. But as a quick preview, since you asked, it will be at 4 p.m. on that April 11th date.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Anything else coming up for any of our CSC members before we move forward in the agenda? Yeah, Tim, go ahead.
I would like to add an action item. 2 years ago, when we started our project to talk about Caltrans, Caltrans informed us that when they would complete the roundabouts on Wheat Ridge Highway, they would come back and inform us basically about expanding and repairing some of those sidewalks and the main roads in Lamont. But yet, to this day, the roundabouts have been completed 3 months ago, and we haven't heard nothing from Caltrans.
I know we have Lorena. Hi, Lorena.
Hi, everyone. My name's Lorena Mendibles. I work with Caltrans District 6. I believe the roundabout, it's been there for about, its completion has been about 3 months. I'm sure that there will be some improvements coming up soon. Can I have your name, or can we put it in the chat and I can try to get back? I mean, no, not try, but I will get back to you in regards to any updates on your request.
Lorena, would it be possible, we have standing updates at the end of our CSC meetings, and wondering what your thoughts on maybe providing the update to the whole group at our next meeting?
Sure, that's fine.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We'll add that to the action item tracker. Anything else coming up?
Yeah, and if there's any other Caltrans requests or questions, please, reach out, or I will get in touch with Eric and we can facilitate the information to all of you. Thank you. Thank you, Jessica, as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. I know everyone will appreciate the update, and thank you, Tim, for reminding us of that action item. I see another hand from Mario. Mario, I think you're muted if you're talking. I do see a hand up from Mario or Elvia. Oh, there you are. You're still muted. There we go.
Okay, yeah, just something was going on with my computer. Anyways, yeah, I just got a question. Like a year ago, that we had a meeting over the big mountain over here at Haybaker, that so-called they were supposed to remove it. I wonder what happened with that. They said the county said it was okay for them to remove it. It's all that waste.
This is Jessica. I'm not sure. Can you help clarify a little bit of what you're talking about? Was this a meeting we had it with the Air District here in the CSC?
Yeah, it's like a year, like almost a year ago, so-called they was supposed to already remove that dirt. That you told me that one.
I told you. I'm
Yeah.
not recalling, or I don't know exactly. I wonder, you said this was with the county. I wonder if we can meet and maybe discuss with the county exactly, and maybe you can clarify right now, because I do see someone from the county on kind of the
Yeah, because
conversation what you're describing.
like a year ago, I was talking about that waste right there in Haybaker. It's like a mile long of, all the waste they dump there. I think like 2 or 3 months or 2 or 3 months, yeah. You told me that you talked to the county or something like that, and they said that they was gonna remove it last year. I wonder what happened with that.
Hey Mario, this is Asha. I'm from Kern County Public Works. I can try and follow up with folks in my department. Do you know this, like, is it Haybecker north of Panama?
Yeah, it's yeah. Let's see. It's, well, I'm on this side. Yeah, something like that.
So
It's
it's
right
on the
there.
north.
It's right there, close to the end of the streets of Lamont.
On the north end, right?
Yes. No. The south.
South end by Di Giorgio Road, or
No, the other side.
let's see. Let me pull up
It's
a
because
map.
I'm turning. Yeah. It's north.
Sorry
North.
to,
You're right. You're right. North.
North. Okay.
Yeah, because they said they was gonna take it out because it's close to the house with all resident right there. It was smelling and everything. Gases was coming out of that ground.
yeah.
I think some people complain about that too, years back. And so-called they said they was gonna remove it. They haven't removed it. I wonder what happened with that.
what were they removing? Was it
With all the waste, all the dirt that they put there, that's all the waste what they dump there. Pesticides, chemicals, carrot waste, potato waste, and all that.
okay? I will talk to the maintenance department and see if they know anything.
Yeah,
And
'cause
if
they
I,
told me they was gonna remove it.
interesting, I don't even,
Yeah.
I'm looking
Yeah.
on Google Maps.
Sorry
and
to interrupt. I'm so sorry. It sounds like this might need a little bit of follow-up. And just to keep us on track with the agenda, I'm so sorry. Is it okay if we add this to our action item tracker? And we can connect Mario
Yeah,
and Asha.
I would
Yeah,
like to know, what's going on with that part, because so-called
definitely.
that's a year ago. So-called they was supposed to, take all that dirt out.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, and we'll note that, and we'll definitely help facilitate the follow-up to get that question answered. And we can bring the update back to the CSC next month as well.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, like that. All the C members could know what's going on.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Great memories here, helping remind us of action items from a while ago. Really appreciate it. And thank you, Asha, for jumping in and being willing to do that follow-up. So I think at this time I can move us through to our next agenda item. There is lightning happening right now. Apologies. So we are going to talk about the SERP tracker. Just want to acknowledge that this tracker has been there from the beginning since the beginning of implementation. There has been a lot of questions about this tracker that have come up about how to use it and how to understand it. We had some questions about this at our meeting last month, which is why we're bringing this review to this meeting. there is a follow-up agenda item right after this where we'll get more specific about the CERT measures. So just for this agenda item about the tracker, we'll be focusing questions more on the layout of the tracker and the accessibility of it, and if anything, any recommendations to make it more helpful and useful to everybody. And then if there are any specific questions about those CERT measures, we'll ask you to hold those for the next agenda item, where we'll get into more detail about that. And I believe Maricela will be providing this presentation in Spanish. So just another reminder to please make sure you are in the correct interpretation channel and let us know if you're having any trouble. So I'm happy to pass it to Mari.
Hola, muy buenas tardes a todos. Quisiera empezar otra vez, como ya mencionó un poco Liz.
Hi, good
vamos-
afternoon, everyone. As Liz mentioned, we're going to talk about the setup tracker. Something that she didn't mention was this tracker. It's available in the your community website. And on top of that, you will get a link through your email every month when we have an update. And to the people that are requesting, that have requested this document before, we are also sending it as part of a package. So you should be receiving this monthly because we have monthly updates. So with that, I'm going to share my screen with you so I can show you the document. It's here. These are the trackers that we sent you. It's available in the website. For the Arvin and Lamont community, there are 25 measures, and these 25 measures are updated. In this document, all the lists are here. Each one of the 20 measures are part of this report. I'll just mention them briefly. What I also want to mention is that one of the previous meetings, we got a suggestion that sometimes they don't know what are the ones that have been updated. So starting this month, we're going to be able to highlight it in yellow so you can see what were the ones that had been updated in the last month. So for example, we're going to review, this is the category of what's the measure. Let's say that I want to have more information on the passenger vehicles repair. So I'm going to click this link, and it's going to open it, insert the measure, and the detail on all the information about the measure. We're going to go back to the report. Just give me 1 second. One moment, please. It's here. I'm sorry. So that's the measure. If you click the link, it will send you to the SERP webpage where you can get more details on that specific measure. What I wanted to show you is that in this column here, we're going to see what's the update for this specific measure. In this case, again, I'm going to talk about this measure. It is the passenger vehicle repair program. The latest was the project plan was approved by CARB on March 6th of this year, 2024. So this month, as many of you know, it was approved by CARB, and because we did a change and it has been approved, it is also highlighted here in yellow. So this is just an example for you, so you get to see what are the measures that we have updated in the last month. Then in this column here, that is the F column, it says the condition of the incentive project plan for CARB. It let us know if CARB has approved the project or if the project is still pending approval from them. These ones have been approved, that says approved by CARB. And also a couple of them have been pre-approved by CARB. And for these other measures, they do not require to have a project plan. So that's the information that it's available for you on that. We're going to talk a little bit about these two columns here. These are going to show what's the measure, how much you have assigned for this measure, and how many projects you may have here. For example, we're going to check here the agricultural equipment replacement. In this case, the objective, you wanted to see 4 million, 4.5 million, 4.5 million for 50 units. And right now, up until today, here it says achieved in this project. We have spent $1.840 million and 21 units. And what I wanted to add here is that if you go to the same line, you'll be able to see all the information related to that measure, the reductions that we have seen, and also the progress. In this case, we are like a 71% to reach our objective. I'm going to go back a little bit again. So as I mentioned, talking about this measure, any of the measures actually, you will be able to see how much you assign for this specific measure and what we have achieved so far. For example, the heavy duty truck replacement, you assign 5 million for 30 trucks, but right now you haven't assigned any funds for it. I'm going to leave the questions to the end so I can give you a little bit more information.
I would like to show you. In this case, for example, we will continue with the ag equipment, the replacement for this, and the reductions that we have seen. In this case, for the equipment, the ag equipment replacement, with these 21 units that we were able to get and we have established in this community, we have seen the reduction of NOx. The objective is 186 tons. At the moment, with these 22 units, we were able to reach 123.3 tons of reduction. How do you say this? 123.3 tons of reduction for this measure for NOx. And for example, PM 2.5, we have seen that the objective is 13 tons. And with these 21 units, we were able to reach 8.1 tons of reduction from the PM 2.5. And if we continue with the VOC, the NOx, PM 2.5 and VOC, those are the pollutants. And in this case, for the VOC, the objective is 0.0, but we were able to reach 12.1 from VOC. And as I mentioned before, this means that with these 21 units in this community, we were able to see 71% of the reduction of the objective. And this is the total progress that we have. And this last column is explaining what are the people who can you communicate with for this measure. And you can do any of these with these different 25 measures that we have in this report, and we have a different person per measure, so you can communicate with them. I'm going to leave it here to see if we have any questions. It looks like we already have questions, but I would like to add, besides this report, is that we want you to give us your suggestions and also what other changes you want to see, so we can review these and maybe understand it a little bit better. Any questions or any suggestions? Mario?
Yeah. But I want to know if on that information that for people getting that program, I want to know if we could see who's getting that program paperwork or something. Because I got a friend of mine, he's a family-owned farmer. He's having a lot of problems to even get that program. I just want to know if I could find out what's going on with that program.
This is Jessica. Actually, we have the supervisor of I'm assuming you're talking about tractor
Yes.
programs. We have the supervisor, Ryan Delmanowski here, who definitely is a great person to reach out to. Obviously, we can help facilitate that. So Ryan, I don't know if maybe we can have you put your name in the chat and we can directly, Mario, reach out to your, or vice versa. Mario, you can give us the name and number of this person, or we can call you after the fact and make sure that we can help facilitate that application.
Yeah, because I was talking to him like a month ago or something like that. He was saying that he was having a lot of problems trying to get this program.
Yeah, let's help him through that. I know Ryan's team. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, and he's a family-owned farmer, and I just want to make sure that he gets helped out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mario, as Jessica said, I oversee that program, so I'd be more than happy to put my name and number and my email into the chat, and you can reach out to me directly, and I'll make sure that you can pass our information along to your friend.
Well, if you could send it to my wife's phone email or my email.
Yeah,
And,
that would work as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
We'll get that to you, Ryan. Thanks, Mario.
Okay, también otra cosa que
Okay, also something that I would like to add is that any person who is not receiving this wants a copy, please just let us know. You can let Eric know, and Eric is assigned for this community. You can send a message to him, and he could send you that information by mail every month. Any other suggestion or question about this before we pass it to Jessica? It looks like we don't hear anything, so I'll pass it to Jessica so she can continue with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mari. I just want to make sure I see Mario's hand. I don't know if it's just still up from previously. Awesome. Thanks, Mario. Thank you, Maricela. As mentioned, I know that was a lot to take in. Hopefully that tracker is really familiar to you because we have been sending it out. And I really appreciate, once again, the suggestion from folks last meeting to highlight where the changes are. So hopefully that makes it just much more accessible and easier. You don't have to read through the entire tracker if you don't want to know what's happened since last month. As a reminder, there's so much to talk about. I ended last meeting with this reminder. There's so much to talk about that we don't have time every meeting. And so that tracker is really your one-stop shop to know what's going on in each of the measures. However, you'll hear tonight that there are going to be more places for us to meet to talk about these measures, primarily in subcommittees. We've been talking about subcommittees for a while, and we're definitely at the point where we're ready to launch some of these programs. It did take a little bit of time to get off the ground, and we think subcommittees are the place to do it. So you're going to hear me talk about the progress made in several measures, and the next steps do include some upcoming meetings that we want to invite you to be a part of. Hopefully, can everyone see my screen? Some nods, thank you. I lost my cursor, there it is. All right, so as a reminder, we have 31 total measures in the SERP. 12 of these are the incentives measures. All of those different types of measures you can see in that SERP tracker. But the 12 incentives measures I think are especially important in that tracker because they track the number, they track the dollar amounts remaining, they track any decisions that you all make kind of in the future about how to spend the funding sort of in support of the district's work. And so that will be the place to see that. You can, and as Mari scrolled through, we talked a lot about incentives. That tracker does also track just a little higher level, all the other work being done. And we can come to our upcoming meeting and talk more about the non-incentives work. And you'll hear a little bit more about the non-incentives work at the end of the meeting today. But we certainly want to save some of that. We already have a subcommittee for a couple of those efforts, and definitely just a reminder. Today, we're going to focus on the incentives. because a lot of you are really interested in talking about the funding, about target timelines and deadlines, and we definitely want to keep you up to date. So this slide should be familiar. It was about a year ago that we shared a very similar slide, and we've broken these up into sort of 3 buckets of types of incentives. The first are incentives that are really aimed at you all, the residents. So these are incentives that are either directly benefit or directly get funding to you as residents. I have highlighted here 2 that we're going to go in depth just a little bit on, but just to walk you through it, as a reminder, we have incentives for replacement of residential lawn and garden equipment. We actually, as a reminder, this question came up last month, we have incentives for about 350 mowers. And so far, technically that program is open. That means that folks can just go online and use the resource, and we can drop even the link into the chat here to go online and go through that program in kind of what we call the typical normal way, where folks would go out, buy a lawnmower, and then can submit to get reimbursed, meaning they get money after the fact. However, we talked with you all over the past really almost year about planning an event. So I have a slide here where we'll talk about what that means, and talk about how we can get that number from what is now 10 mowers that folks have taken advantage of all the way up to the 350 and get lots of folks involved. We also have funding for commercial. So these are for like big ride-on mowers that like a city or a county or a school district can take advantage of, or a mom and pop landscaping equipment business. So please, we have already begun outreach on this, but this is where your interest and your help, and even the outreach subcommittee that you'll hear a little bit about, can start to make sure we find folks to really take advantage of this measure. We're finding a lot of people across the valley. There's a similar, but not quite as supportive program as this, a similar program that's going on valley-wide, and lots of folks are interested in. 2 other things that were recently approved this month were the incentives for vehicle repair and incentives for vehicle replacement. We have, as a committee, talked about vehicle replacement a lot over the past few months, but I did want to let you know that per last month's meeting, we have an agenda set for our outreach subcommittee meeting where we'll talk about that. But just as a reminder, the repair is for funding to get your vehicle repaired if it can't pass a smog check or it needs assistance otherwise coming into compliance. And the other is funding to get rid of an old vehicle and replace it. So those are just the great general updates, but I have 2, Mari, I'll definitely get to your question. I'm going to share 2 quick slides that just go into a little bit of detail about what I said, and then I'll definitely take questions and pause there for any questions on those 4 measures. So really briefly, I mentioned there's money for 350 mowers to become electric at no cost. And that's an open program right now. We have scheduled, as you heard, a preview, an outreach subcommittee meeting. We will be sending that out by the end of this week with a calendar invite and a link on April 11th at 4 p.m. We would invite you all to work with our outreach team to really hone in on how to get people as a part of this measure, including the district mower event. So we've updated you all, and in 3 days, we should hear a final list of vendors or people who sell lawn equipment that are interested in helping us host an event in Arvin, Lamont. So we hope to aim to host that event in May. And so the meeting on April 11th will really get your ideas, and we should then know what the vendors are and where the possible locations are to work with you on honing in that event and making sure we make it very successful. So we're really excited about that. And related to that same outreach subcommittee, but certainly this will be an ongoing committee, so we know there'll be successive meetings as time needs. We also have incentives, as you all know, for replacing cars with new or used electric or plug-in hybrid electric for low-income folks in your community. Again, we heard a lot last meeting about making sure that outreach is really robust. And we definitely want to make sure that we bring our partners, Valley Clean Air Now, to help with that outreach and make sure, per all of your suggestions, that we're really reaching the folks that need it the most. So those are our 2 big updates and big announcement about the outreach subcommittee that you will receive an invite for. I see 2 questions, so I'll just pause there and I'll jump around to slides as needed to help answer. So I saw Mario's first and then Francisco.
Yeah, I would like to see that program for the smog and repairs.
Aha.
We need to get more information on that because I had a friend of mine that was trying to fix up one of his hybrids, and I told him about this program. And there's a lot of little things that they don't cover for a hybrid because it's gas and electric.
Mm-hmm.
And some cars they need fluid to cool down the batteries and the whatever it got there. Anyways, we need to get more information for the public when they asking for this program. And a lot of thing is that you guys pushing them to go to the internet or whatever little program you got. A lot of people do not know how to use these phones,
Mm-hmm.
and they're older people.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that we need to give out more information because a lot of people are not understanding what this program really is all about.
Thank you, Mario. That's a really great point and a really good reminder. I'll just maybe say out loud that this was just approved per the announcement you saw in the tracker. So this is exactly the type of feedback we need on launching it ASAP. So that's a good reminder. I don't know if, I know not to put you on the spot, but I don't know if Maricela or Heather, as the outreach team, can we talk a little bit about the types of outreach we do really briefly for like tune in, tune up, or the types of outreach our partners do that isn't online? Because I know that there's a lot of assistance and work that's done there.
Oh, absolutely. I'll take that one. This is Heather. Hi, everyone. So the team that puts on those events actually probably, I think 2 weeks ahead of the event, they go into that community and they'll flyer all the main businesses. They generally will have some workshops timed with the repair event to talk about replacing your vehicle too, and we can schedule and talk about all of that. But they definitely go into each community. They often find people on the ground in those communities to flyer markets, busy areas, common spaces where people gather ahead of the event, in addition to radio and TV ads and social media ads and things that are sort of traditional where you might hear it.
And then Heather, I have a question. Do we, in order to put, can you just pull up to the event? So folks, do they need to go online and like fill something out, or can they, if there's an event happening in their community, how do they make sure that they can take a part of it?
Gotcha. Absolutely. You can definitely just roll in. The Valley Can folks, and we can probably drop the link in chat, and the partners that put these events on for us are very good about listing all the information and sort of providing a preview of what you might need when you go. But basically, you want to show up with all your information. Lots of times these are local to that community, and so maybe you can run home and grab it and come back with it. But things that show that you've owned the vehicle, that the information that shows that you can, you have the ability to make the smog and do the work that you need to do.
And so I'm wondering, this sounds really related in a sense to the replacement piece that we'll also talk about at the outreach subcommittee.
Correct.
So I wonder if we can combine that at the outreach subcommittee to make sure that, to Mario's point, we get all this information.
I think we should
talk a little bit about it. Okay.
Great idea.
Awesome. Thank you, Mario. Great question. Francisco and Cecilia.
Yo tengo una
I have a question, but it looks like you already answered it. Miss Jessica answered it already about the lawnmowers, because I have been waiting for a long time to for this event for the lawnmowers, and I also asked if I could buy one and I can have the rebate money, but in the last meeting they said no, that they will bring them to the community, and right now the lady just said that in May we will have that event. So that was the question that I had.
Thank you.
Gracias.
We are so excited. I think one of the big things, and just we'll talk a little bit more about this with a smaller group, but we'll certainly re-announce this to the bigger group, is when you do it on your own, We certainly can, but then you have to go find a place to drop off your old mower. So there are a lot of bigger steps. And so the event is kind of this one-stop shop. And I think that's a great reminder, is that a lot of people have been waiting. So we're excited. We hope that May is when it happens, and we'll reach out to all of you, especially in the subcommittee, for those that can make it. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to move on. Certainly, as other questions arise, sorry, I do see, are there questions in the chat? It's hard when I'm sharing directly for me before I move on.
No.
Awesome, thanks everyone. Well, great, I'm going to move on to our next set of SERP measures that are incentives based. And these are what we call community services, for sort of lack of a better term, but generally these are funding to go, these are funding amounts that go to like the city or the county or the school district or some other type of like agency to reduce emissions kind of on their level or mitigate or block exposure to pollution. And so as we've talked about in the past, there are two related to planting. One is urban greening, and we've talked about it not super recently, but it's about planting trees really more on an individual basis. The second is vegetative barriers, which we acknowledge is very different. And we shared a little handout not too long ago about sort of the difference between the two. And vegetative barriers is where we plant trees or shrubs or bushes or whatever it takes to create sort of a barrier or wall between a source of pollution and folks that it could impact. And so I highlighted that here because we have an announcement on the next slide about a subcommittee that we finally will be launching based on input from all of you. And then there's two more measures that we've been talking about, but it's been a while, and I just wanted to give brief update. And I know I've heard from our agency partners that we can have an update at the next meeting for more details. But one is road, sidewalk installation, and bike paths. This measure, as a reminder, we have $12 million. That is the largest amount in your SERP for, this is for just one particular measure. And we worked with you all really over the past year, year and a half to prioritize and work with the city and the county on which projects you all thought were the highest priority. These are really big projects, so it does take a really long time to move forward to the next step, which is why we worked on them number one. It was your priority, and we knew they would take a long time. So where the county projects, we'll remind you at our next meeting kind of what those projects are and what the next steps are to move forward. We also have heard from the city, from Christine Vitarelli, that she will also have an update for us based on your input at our meeting in April. So I just want to remind you that these are measures we are continuing to move forward on sort of in the background, but we do owe you all an update and next steps, and we look forward to that discussion in April once we have all the other folks here to provide those updates. So definitely thanks to the county and to the city for their progress on those measures. And then finally, public fleet vehicles. These are vehicles that can be purchased by the city or the county or like a school district to replace their older vehicles with the cleanest vehicles that they can. And so this is a measure that you put in your SERP in order to target a handful of vehicles. And so it is approved, it is open, and we can start to work with those public agencies to see what the interest is and make sure that we start moving on that measure pretty soon here. But related to that, knowing that when you all prioritized your SERP, vegetative barriers was up there among the top measures along with paving and sidewalk installation. And we just want to let you know that the program has been approved, and we have heard a lot of feedback from you all on various places that you want to find potential project partners and where the highest priority locations are for you all. We are really interested in talking with you all about what we call the RFP. You're going to hear that term a lot. It's where we try to find folks to do the work. And we have scheduled, and we will be sending out again another subcommittee meeting that's just focused on this measure and something we've been talking about with you for a while now. That will be on May 7th at 4 p.m. on Zoom. So you're noticing we're kind of in that point in implementation where there's a lot of details to be worked out. And we certainly want to hear from you all and know that there's people that want to dig in on reading the materials or even helping us select people to be a part of, say, the Vegetative Barriers program. So with that, you're going to start seeing us launch subcommittees, but we're certainly aware of the time we're taking from you all. So I'll keep looking out from you all, or even with our co-leads if we're like putting too much on the calendar. But we definitely also recognize that there is a lot of work to be done and you are all eager to be a part of it. So that's the balance we're trying to strike. And I'll just acknowledge, as you already know, because there are already some subcommittees here, they're not required parts of being a part of the CSC. It's only as you are available. And of course, just like always, we will always post the video and the materials online like everything. So if you can't make it and can't join us, we're certainly interested in hearing from you, or at least giving you an update through all of our regular meetings. I'll pause there to see if there's any questions about those measures I just went through. Awesome. Well, again, if anything comes up, we'll either see you at the subcommittee or we can talk about it. And I definitely, once again, just want to acknowledge and thank all of the other partners that will help us move some of this forward at our April meeting as well. All right, finally, our last bucket of incentives measures are measures for heavy-duty trucks and equipment. These are measures that are targeted at big diesel or other gas-powered equipment that tend to be sort of the more polluting of the types of units that we've been talking about so far today. So heavy-duty truck replacement, this measure is open, and we have started doing some outreach, but certainly we'll do more and keep updating you all, or even working with you all on making sure we're reaching out to folks that currently drive diesel trucks in your community and trying to get them to switch over to electric trucks. Or I should say zero emission trucks. There are alternative options. One of the other updates, and we'll get to it on the next slide, is school bus replacement. This is also open, and we definitely want to make sure you all prioritized getting 4 buses replaced in your community. We want to make sure we're doing our due diligence, but also if you know folks at the either school area, either in the Lamont area or the Arvin area, and you know that there's folks that are interested. Of course, we have contacts, but you as folks that live in the community might know folks even more than we do. And get folks excited about this. And we'll just talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. The next 2, a little bit of it was previewed with the update from Maricela, but I wanted to let you know that we have been making progress on some of the 2 heavier hitting items in your SERP. And those are items that replace either tractors, and you can see here 1C, we've replaced 21 vehicles and achieved about 72% of the way of the reductions we hoped to achieve in this measure. And we've also, instead of folks open burning like their agricultural waste, we've also allowed folks to take advantage of an incentives program where we give them funding to otherwise chip. So put their, like shred all of their agricultural waste and reincorporate it into the soil instead of burning it openly. And so that gets rid of the reductions or the emissions that would have otherwise happened, right, from like the smoke from burning. And we've been able to do about 88 acres of projects, and that's about 6% of the target. And we're continuing, of course, to do the outreach to make sure that your community isn't impacted by open burning. But I will pause. Actually, Mario, go ahead. I'll pause there before I get to the next slide and see what questions folks have on this slide.
Yeah, I got a question. Why the county don't have these type of equipment, maybe to let them out to the ranchers? Instead of the ranchers getting one, have the county, lend them the equipment because they don't use it every year.
This is typically, and I don't know if Ryan, I know it's not exactly, but if you can just maybe if you know a little bit about the alternatives to burning program, it's usually like an equipment rental, right, from like a company, not from the county, but there are like folks out there. Of course, they might have their own equipment, but right, there's other sort of companies that do this.
Yeah, so my understanding is that there are companies that actually do the orchard removals and the chipping. And so the applicant, they determine what contractor essentially they want to contract the orchard the actual removal and shipping and all that. But yeah, it's not directly associated with the program. I don't know 100%, to be honest, if we contract with those operations or those businesses that do it. I don't believe we do. But yeah, my understanding is that applicants, they just go with who they want to go with. Yeah.
Thanks, Ryan. And what I'm thinking, Mario, is so it's not, so basically the answer is, yeah, folks do rent out the equipment. We pay them to pay them for the services that they're like otherwise being paid, that they would pay for, and we reimburse them for those services. We're not buying a bunch of equipment because that sort of is a little bit, you know, in other ways against the.
Oh, okay. But that,
Yeah.
see, that's the reason why I want more information, because things like this, you know, it just, if we have more information, we don't have to be asking these dumb questions, I guess.
No, these aren't dumb questions. And this is the type of information. It's hard for us to bring every detail of every project at every meeting. So these are the questions that we love. And I think I appreciate the questions, and I'm sure the community does as well. Because we did have these details when we first put them in the SERP. We talked about all of these, but it's obviously been a long time. And they're on, you know, the details are in the SERP themselves. But because we don't go over every detail every time, this is great. And maybe next time now we'll remind ourselves to have a better description.
Yeah, and not only that, if you could send paperwork, you know, to explain to us how that works,
sure,
it would be even better, because we get a better understanding.
Yeah.
And you know, we get educated. Maybe we could educate some people out there, you know.
Yeah.
Going on.
And I'm noting that I know obviously we'll have multiple outreach subcommittee meetings, but this is just a great reminder in general about outreach, is that you all having the materials about these programs helps you all be better advocates. I think that's a great reminder. Awesome. Any questions? I'm going to hop over just as a reminder. It's not much different than what I just said, but just reminders, school bus replacement. We find that it takes, just like a lot of these measures and getting a new school bus and working with the school district, it takes some time. And so it's something that we're really highlighting here, because we do want to find project partners as soon as we can and make sure that we have enough time to get folks through the program. So I'm just highlighting it here in that we're working, but we definitely, as you hear, or maybe some of you work closely with folks that are working at these schools, let us know, and we definitely want to make sure we connect. To Mario's point, I'm wondering what we do, if we can put as an action item. I'm happy to maybe in the folks that get mail out packets, and then certainly in emails as well, we can make them really robust, and we can have a couple of flyers and outreach materials that we already have on hand about these programs. And that can be maybe the start of some of our outreach discussions in those subcommittee meetings. So I think that's a good reminder, Mario, and definitely no dumb questions ever. That actually ends the update. As I mentioned, it was sort of a one-stop shop update, but the idea was just now everyone has hopefully a general sense of where we're at with each measure. We took some really great notes on the questions you had, and we definitely already know that we owe you an update, whether it's in a subcommittee meeting or, like I said, next month about a couple of measures. So hopefully if that was useful, whether right now in the chat or during our agenda setting call, let us know, and we can maybe find some time every few months to do what we just did, where there's just a comprehensive reminder of where we're at with all the incentives. That way you all just kind of can ask these really great kind of one-off questions, and I think move us forward quicker. And with that, I think I'm happy to pass it back to Harder and Company to move us along. Thank you all. Oh, actually, sorry, one second. I had a concept, and if you can bear with me, I'm going to have just Maricela really briefly kind of summarize a couple of things that I just mentioned, because I do think it's nice to kind of hear it from Mari in Spanish, some of just the general updates that we provided.
Gracias, Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica. What I just wanted to highlight on what just Jessica mentioned is that we want to give you the opportunity, as she mentioned, there are two new subcommittees that are going to be launched in the next couple of meetings. One that is the outreach committee. We invite you to talk to you about the lawnmowers and also for the vehicle replacement. That meeting is going to be April 11 at 4 p.m. It's going to be through Zoom. And the other subcommittee that we are forming, it's the vegetative barriers subcommittee. We're going to talk about vegetative barriers for the community. And the meeting for this subcommittee, it's going to be on May 7 at 4 p.m. And it's also going to be through Zoom. I just wanted to highlight this information because it's important for you to be part of this committee if you can, so you can give us feedback. Whether if it's not in this meeting, we can talk a little bit more details on this subcommittee. That's what I wanted to mention. Thank you.
So much, Madi. And while we're clarifying terms, just want to make the connection for our CSC residents that were in attendance to our pesticide subcommittee meeting yesterday. So very similar to that process. These new subcommittees that will be launched will happen on a certain rotation on a certain date that was just mentioned. And want to clarify that as you all have decided for your CSC meetings, these subcommittees help with the implementation of all of these CERT measures, but all high-level decisions do come back to this meeting. So you all collectively make decisions and are informed of everything that happens at those subcommittee meetings. So if you can't make it, don't feel the pressure. As Jessica said, those updates will happen here, and you'll still have all the information that gets sent out and gets discussed at each of those subcommittee meetings. So thank you for that recap, Madi, and thanks for that comprehensive update, Jessica. At this time, we're going to transition to some general standing updates and some specific updates. So during this time, we have the opportunity to hear from several folks that are here today. We're going to inform you of some of the critical work that's happening within the 617 boundary for Arvin, Lamont. So I'd love to start with Gabe Castro, if that's okay. I do see you here from Kern Oil. So if you could provide us with a general update regarding some of the concerns that were discussed at the last meeting. And if you could, there you go, you already shared your screen, you're on it. So I will pass the mic to Gabe, and we will be monitoring questions for you, Gabe, on the chat and keeping track of folks that are raising their hands so that we can ensure that all questions are clarified. Please go ahead, Gabe. And you're on mute.
Okay, here we go. Can everybody hear me? Thank you. All right, so we just wanted to provide an update on a program that has been going on at Kern now for about a year now. We wanted to talk about the refinery fence line air monitoring system. The Air District requires petroleum refineries to maintain a fence line monitoring system and to make that data available publicly. That website, www.kern4460.com, takes real-time air monitoring data and publishes it on the web. You can sign up for email notifications so that if there are instances where there are elevated levels, you would receive a notification. Questions about the fence line monitoring system can be submitted on the website through the Leave Feedback link in the upper right-hand corner of the website pages. It does cover 3 boundaries along the facility, along Panama Lane, along Weed Patch Highway, and then along the south border of the facility between the community just to the south of the facility.
Hey Gabe, this is Kit. Do you just want to share really quick on the lower right hand side? So we have the English and the Spanish here, and we have an example of kind of what the data looks like when folks get on the website. Can you just comment on that really real briefly?
Yes. So when you're on the website, you can select one of the streams that the analyzer monitors in real time. And when you do that, the graphical representation that we have brought up in our display here would come up. The larger box that you're kind of seeing right now at the top shows the date and the time. You're going to zoom in for me? I'll give you a minute to adjust that. There we go. Okay, so within that dotted red box, you can see the date and the time relative to where the cursor is looking. OP1 represents open path 1 along that boundary on the on East Panama Lane around the north end of the facility. Then going back within that dotted box, it's the compound that's being monitored, which in that case is sulfur dioxide. Then to the right of that is the current reading. And then next to that is a more technical output, which is the MDL. And I'll go into that more here a little bit in a minute. But within that red dotted box, you can see the real-time values along open path 1, open path 2, and open path 3 to the south. The other thing that you would see on the website would be the weather station, the meteorological data that you would pick up from the weather station as well. If you can highlight on that or circle in on that middle box of the 3 smaller images. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so method detection limit. So the method detection limit is the minimum level that the equipment can actually see. It can actually measure. And data that would be below that level doesn't show up within the trend because it's just literally not something that the analyzer is capable of detecting. And then if you can move me to your right.
And then Gabe, while we're going there, we just have a question in the chat from Cesar. Cesar, it looks like you're actually on the 4460 website, which is great. And you're noticing that the information only goes back to December. So Gabe, it looks like there's only, that would be 4 months of data on the 4460 website. Is that, I'm getting that same result
okay.
That Cesar is getting. So maybe that is an error on the website.
Okay, we'll definitely make a note of that and
Okay.
follow up. The website and the various equipment that's part of the system is all maintained by a neutral third party, Sonoma Technology. So we'll have to coordinate with them to see if there's a reason why that data isn't available going further back. Kern asks the Sonoma Technology to get updates on those types of issues.
So Gabe, we probably can come back either at the next meeting or even before to let Cesar know what Sonoma Technology says. Yeah, and Cesar, we can also ask that question about historical data for sure. Yeah, great question.
Thank you both. So we'll be sure to add it as an action item and have you give a standing update at the next meeting.
Thanks, Gabe. I'm sorry to keep interrupting you if you want to talk about this box here.
Not a problem. I appreciate the help. So then on the last one here, thank you for moving around with me here as we go through this slide, is the reference exposure level. This is the concentration level at or below which no adverse health effects are anticipated for a 1 hour average exposure detection. That concentration was set within the Rule 4460, and then further it was set by OEHA. So further information on that, I would have to defer to either the district or OEHA.
And
Yes,
I
thank you,
think,
Kit.
yes, oh, thanks, Amy. And we would just encourage everybody, if you are online to please go to the website. Please sign up for the notifications. Again, Sonoma, is it Sonoma Environmental? Is that their name, Gabe?
So Sonoma Technology.
Sonoma Technology maintains this website and they maintain the monitors. But I think it is really helpful to be able to get notices when there are exceedances at the fence line boundary.
Great. Thank you both for that update. At this time, I'm not seeing any additional questions. If folks have questions, please do raise your hand. And I'm seeing Sandra has a question and then Jess.
Yeah, thank you. I was just gonna ask, if for some reason like folks get an email saying that, the refinery has exceeded emissions, what should folks in the area do? Like what is the protocol?
I think on that, I would have to defer to the air district on that. I know internally when the facility receives those types of notifications, we would initiate an investigation into potential sources and work to stop or eliminate those.
And then I can add, certainly, we, of course, per our rule, are also monitoring. And we understand that there's the internal practice there at Kern Oil, but we also will be monitoring and hopefully taking steps. But anything that you all also see, even if you feel like, hey, the district probably already knows this, anything you see, whether it's an alert or you're physically visibly seeing it, we heard from Maricela last meeting, call the district, get in touch with our compliance and report whatever you're seeing, because the faster we see it, even if you think, hey, they might be already are taking care of it, there might be something else that we can talk to you about and respond to as well. So I think that's just always a good reminder. If you see something, say something per the district's kind of complaint, filing a complaint.
And I
will
wonder,
also-
Jessica,
Oh, go ahead.
could we just share, maybe there's something to share in the chat just to give everybody the phone number and if there's an email, just so everybody has it right at their fingertips.
Perfect. I'm wondering, Eric, if we can drop in all the information that Maricela spent, that we shared last time, as well as all the additional typical information. One thing, I see lots of other great hands. I'm wondering, and Kit, maybe, I don't know if you or Gabe are the right person to do this. There were a lot of great input from, I loved the meeting where Melinda came and kind of asked you all when we first set up these standing updates with all of the cool information that the district, or just the constant updates, right, that the CSC was interested in. And we know we can't, again, spend every single meeting digging deep into some things. I know you all have sort of some upcoming topics, just like today where we focused on one. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So we know there's always lots of questions, Jessica, from folks about the flare. And so we were planning on, for your April meeting, doing just sort of like flare basics. And again, it's really hard in the limited amount of time to cover the amount of material we'd like to cover with you. So with the permission of the steering committee, if we could do talk about the flare maybe in April and then again in May, because I'm guessing there are going to be maybe some overflow questions from the April meeting that we could address in May or even going into June.
And then with that, and I know there's a few questions, something that I've heard from you all are lots of other detailed questions just in general about compliance, in general about filing a complaint. Like there's constantly, and we'll have an update, I think later from Cesar about kind of the citizen version of all of this. One of the things, we talked a lot about subcommittees today, so I don't want to pile on too much more, but we have also in the past in other subcommittee or other steering committees also had subcommittees where we just spend a little bit more time talking about these sorts of things. Maybe it is, if people really want to talk about flares for a long time, maybe we can have one meeting that's just on that. We can have one meeting just on dust, one meeting just on, kernel. There's all these different types of things. So I'm going to put out there, we don't have to schedule it right now because there's a lot on our plates with subcommittees, but we can also continue this conversation in what we can call like an enforcement or regulatory subcommittee. Thank you, Eric, for that. And then Cesar and Sandra.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for the information about the monitoring and the fence line monitors. I know with the Arvin network, one of the complaints that we get regularly is smells that come from the refinery. And one thing that I've heard from inspectors is that some of the tanks are allowed to vent into the open air because of the rules and exemptions within the rules.
Yeah, and so I'm sorry, Cesar, you were talking about the Arvin network and the smell coming from the refinery. That's certainly something we could also talk about odors at an upcoming meeting if that would be helpful.
Does that answer your question, Cesar?
I don't think I answered his
Sorry.
question, but we certainly can talk about odors at a future meeting. That's just a lot to cover here in this meeting.
I know just one thing to add is comfortable learning about how the air from a company benefits from having them. So I would like that information to come from the air district or someone else that is not connected to that.
And
Cesar,
what's that about? Yeah,
you
what's
cut
that
out.
about flares, Cesar? Is that what you were commenting
Yes.
on? You cut out. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry,
Did
can
you
you
hear him, Kit? Can you rephrase what he said? I didn't hear him.
Yeah, I said that I feel uncomfortable learning about flares and their health effects from somebody that directly benefits from them. So I would like for that information to come from the district or somebody else.
So just like what flaring is and what the purpose of it is, not from Kern Energy.
Yes.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Cesar. Sandra?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge what Jessica had mentioned about like making sure that the community's letting y'all know that like these things are happening. But I also wanted to voice that it's kind of like a two-way thing, right? Where like the community can let y'all know what's happening and all the smells and the scary noises and things that they hear. But I really want to reiterate that the community also wants to be informed, right? And so apart from just letting y'all know when they see things, let them know when things are like out of control or if their health is in danger, right? Like we have heard a lot of scary things in the community of Hilltops and Fuller Acres. And the last thing I want is just to put the responsibility and accountability on the community to let folks know when things are happening, when the responsibility should be on the refinery and the air district to tell the community when they're at danger. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. And definitely a good reminder, I think, from what I heard today, not only about the air monitoring the district has for you all to, be able to check, but the alerts that you can sign up for directly from Fenceline, I think is important. But we hear you, Sandra, and definitely one of the things we want to remind folks is we'll continue to do what we do when we report that list of all of like the violations that occur, and that's more kind of after the fact, but certainly another way to report out any of the violations anywhere in the boundary that are occurring. And that can be part of our regular reminder to you all as well.
For that clarification, Jessica. And I do see other folks that have updates. So I wanted to pass the mic to, I think, Yvonne from DPR and see if you had any other updates to share for tonight. Yvonne, I know we had a very engaging pesticide subcommittee meeting yesterday, so I'm not sure if you have additional updates to provide today.
Hello, everybody, and thank you. I don't have any updates today. We have a very interesting and productive meeting yesterday. I gave a 2-minute presentation, and I think it went great. So that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mario, do you have a question for DPR?
Yeah, yesterday meeting, I answered a couple of questions. So-called they was supposed to talk to the boss and they was get back with me. And I wonder if they'll tell me anything by today.
From DPR yesterday?
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be today, but you, just given the time, but Yvonne, I don't know if you can provide a timeline maybe?
I don't recall. I mean, the person who was yesterday at the meeting, Ming Fan, he is my boss. But let me get back to you guys. I'm gonna ask him if he has something to report on, and I will let you guys know on the next subcommittee or the next community meeting.
Yeah, because
Perfect.
he said that he was gonna talk to his boss. I don't know.
Okay, can you please, Mario, briefly tell me what was exactly
Well, we were
the
talking about this pesticide, being in the ground for a long time and they won't give out, the gases and
Oh,
stuff like that. And then,
yes.
and then I told him I was concerned because that if it's staying in the ground, it'll go to our drinking water.
Okay, yes, I remember now. Yes, he said that from our understanding, the pesticides that we were referring to are not dangerous to drinking water, but he did say that he was gonna double check that statement. I'm
Yeah,
writing that down right now, and because that just happened yesterday, I'm writing that down now, and I'll make sure to address that question during the next meeting.
yeah, because if it'll be applied just a little bit, and I think it's fine, but if it'll be applied for a long term, saying, for like recycled water or whatever, it goes to our drinking water and then we'll start having problems.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you have to really focus what really is going on with this pesticide because this is cancer. I mean, it'll give cancer to the people.
I'll get back to
So,
you.
yeah, that'll become, well, that didn't make it to an action item yesterday, but we'll make it an action item for today, Mario, so that we can have an update.
Yeah, because I'm very concerned about that one.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful. So, and then I'm also seeing some CARB folks here. Not sure if CARB has any updates before we move to general updates.
Hello, this is James Pham from California Air Resources Board. I'm filling in for Michelle Byers today. She's the main community liaison. I don't have any updates, but if you do have any questions, please put it in the chat or just reach out. Thank you.
Thanks, James. And Cesar, we also had you for some updates regarding the Arvin monitoring. Cesar, can you hear me?
Yes. I sent a PowerPoint over to Eric. I'm not sure if he was able to share it with y'all.
Yeah, I could go ahead and share that for you, Cesar. It's
Yeah.
let me go ahead and drop the link for folks so they could follow along. Give me a couple seconds. And thank you for having that in English and in Spanish. Much appreciated. Here we go. And then here we are.
Yes, sweet. Thank you. So the Arvin reporting network is a network that CCEJN stewards. There is networks all over California, and CCEJN stewards the ones for Kern County, Tulare, and Fresno. If you could scroll down to the next page. So on kernreport.org, you can make reports about the, several of the things listed here, any oil and gas issues, air quality, agricultural related issues, illegal dumping, and really any environmental issue that you see, some including flooding and stuff like that. And here on the right side, we see a quick screenshot of what the website looks like. And the pink square on the left is submit a report. So if you can scroll down to the next one for me. When you see things like this, these are all reports that were made around the Fuller Acres in Lamont area. This was some oil spray that happened on Hermosa Road, are these first two pictures. This picture in the middle is actually a picture from the refinery that was sent in by a resident in Fuller Acres. And then this one is quite old, but this is a report that came in 2018 about some open burning that was happening right across the street from Fuller Acres. So if you ever see anything like this or environmental issues, you can go ahead and click on that submit a report button. If you could scroll down for me. So the first thing you'll see is something that'll ask you to make a title for the report. Some reports can be like a smell of rotten eggs on my street, or big dust cloud coming from field, whatever you think describes the situation, including a category which can be like air, water, and a location as to where it happened. And there's also the website is in English and in Spanish, and you can change the language clicking right underneath that blue circle that says Ivan. So after you do that, after you give the information, if you can scroll down for me, it'll ask you to make a quick description of what you saw. Location is super helpful, time of day, any environmental conditions, like if it was windy, is helpful as well. You can also upload any videos or pictures. And one thing that stays private and never goes out to the public is the contact information at the bottom. So if you yourself would like to remain anonymous to the Air District, or if you would be like to put in contact with them whenever we make the report, we let not only the Air District know, but any governmental agency. So if this doesn't involve the Air District, we can involve the water districts. If this doesn't involve either of them, we can involve the county, but this is something that is a one-stop shop for any environmental problem, and especially stuff that you may be confused about, because we can help make sure everyone that is responsible takes part. If you could scroll down. And so that's the website. It's kernreport.org. We have a phone number right now, but it's down, and we're trying to figure out why. But once we get it back up, we can share that with the committee. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cesar. Appreciate that. Jess, I see your hand raised.
Hi, everyone. This is Jessica again. So, Sar, we spoke at our last committee meeting about the importance of getting things straight to the district as well. But we also acknowledge that there are, some folks that, whether to your point, maybe they don't know if it's an Air District thing or something not related to air. Maybe it's water quality. It sounds like Ivan covers things beyond just what the Air District covers. When it does come to maybe some of the things that you get at the Ivan network, can you talk just a little bit about like the process? We've talked a lot the past couple meetings about how fast the Air District sometimes needs to know about something so we can respond quickly. Can you just talk a little bit about the process of like when you hear something, like what's your process like to make sure that the right agencies hear about it, maybe the timing of that?
Yeah, so me and all of our inspectors get notifications that a report was made. So as soon as we're aware of that, we coordinate, see who's going to submit the report. And if we know it's an issue that involves several agencies, we'll make sure to have that within several minutes. And if any of us are available, sometimes one of our inspectors, including myself, will go out with some inspection equipment as well to try to verify any like leaks or smells, so that we can help the Air District as well. So as soon as we get them, we send them over. There are some residents that can attest to calling me at 4 or 5 in the morning, and I always answer. So it's definitely something that they can feel confident that something will get done as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. So at this time, we do have a couple minutes for other agencies to provide any updates that you all think are relevant and critical for the CSC to hear about tonight. So I'm seeing OEHA here. I'm seeing a few other agencies. Not sure if you all want to share anything before we transition to wrap up and next steps.
Hi, Amy. This is Lorena with Caltrans. I don't have any announcements yet, but I know I have some questions that I need to respond to, so I will do that on the next meeting.
Thank you, Lorena. Appreciate that. Just scrolling through my screen to make sure I'm not missing anyone's hand. Great. Well, oh, Sandra, go ahead.
Sorry. I have a question for Lorena. Is there any updates on the bus stop that was gonna go beside Fuller Acres? Or any sidewalks along Highway 184?
Yeah, for those things, there is construction planned for that. I can't say that's going to happen soon. I will have to get back to the project manager to see where they're at with the update. And then in regards to the transit stop, it all falls together with that. But let me see if I can get an update and see where we can get a push for that. So it is the bus stop and any improvements on State Route 184, correct?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We'll make a note of that. Jessica?
Sorry, I failed to mention it earlier during my updates. I will just make, since it's agency updates and we are an agency, is that you all should have received an email from us to save the date. We are hosting what we're calling our Community Clean Air Day. And we are inviting you all to come and meet other people that are involved in this type of work. We're inviting all of the CSCs across the valley, so you can meet folks from Stockton and Shafter and Fresno. We're also inviting all of the community groups that work in some of the smaller communities that aren't a part of AB 617, but still do some of this same type of work. And so there's communities in the Kern County area, there's communities in the Tulare area, all the way across the valley, that some of these same people that are on this group are on this call rather work in these smaller groups. And we want to get you all together with some agency folks, with some folks that have grant opportunities, with some folks that maybe are just residents and want to learn how to engage better with you all, or you want to share some of the great stuff your group is doing that maybe a group up in Stockton doesn't know how to do, but they can learn. We invite you all to be a part of the day. It's on Saturday, June 22nd, and we have a group of folks that are helping us design it to where we can make sure we know it's going to be in Fresno. We know for some of you, obviously, that it's a drive for anyone that lives in Arvin, Lamont. So we're working on finding a way to make sure that you can get there, that we can help pay for you to get there, that we can help pay for you to be there, and make sure that everyone has an opportunity to connect and that it's not a barrier, that it's somewhere up in Fresno. So we'll definitely share way more information as we get closer to the date. But I just wanted to let you know that Save the Date really was, you are all our intended audience for that. And we would be really, really excited to have you join us. Thanks, Amy.
Jessica, that's really exciting news for the Central Valley to have a space where everyone can collaborate across different communities, different CSCs, and different folks that are doing this similar work together. All right, well, with that said, I'm going to transition us to wrapping up. And as part of our approach to developing transparency and accountability, we do take a moment whenever possible to review our action items to ensure that we captured what you all requested during the meeting. As a reminder, these are developed live as you all are talking. So as Liz shares these, if you want to share your screen, Liz, that'd be great. Please let us know if we have any mistakes or if you want to add another action item. Now would be the time. So we're going to start with the first action item is that Caltrans will present updates at the next CSC meeting regarding the expanding and repairing sidewalks on the roundabout project that was completed about 3 months ago. our second action item of the night is that Kern County will provide an update regarding the waste cleanup on Habakers Road north of Panama. I think we'll have an exact address to update here, so please forgive us for not having an actual like address right now. And for action item number 3, the Air District will continue to send hard copies of SERP outreach materials and will include more comprehensive fact sheets for CSC members. And for action item number 4, Kern Energy will provide an update on whether historical data, so more than 4 months ago, can be made available on their website. And then this new one that was just mentioned, so Caltrans will provide an update regarding the new bus stop near Fuller Acres on SR 184. And if helpful, we could share the action item tracker from the pesticide subcommittee meeting for those of you who were not there, so that you could see that as a result of the conversation that was had yesterday. DPR will be providing updates to the CSC on upcoming 13D regulatory changes for farm workers. And as it was mentioned today, DPR will provide an update to the CSC on research regarding potential groundwater and or soil contamination of such pesticide. Anything to add or modify? Yeah, and Lorena's asking if you could please provide the transit stop that's needed, maybe the location. So if you all remember, Sandra, if you don't remember right now, that's fine, but maybe you could email the Air District with that address, that would be great. And we'll make a note of that in the action item tracker. Great, well, our next meeting is scheduled for our agenda setting meeting, which is an opportunity for us to hear about how our meetings are going, get any feedback from you all. In particular, at this meeting, would love to hear the committee's perspective on the number of new subcommittees that are going to be happening, the frequency of scheduling, and then, you know, the cadence of when these meetings are going to occur. At this next agenda setting meeting, it'll be held April 4th at 4 p.m. via Zoom. And then we have the first outreach subcommittee meeting to be held April 11th from 4 to 5, and that will also be via Zoom. And then our official next CSC meeting will be April 24th at our regular time from 5 to 7 p.m. And that will also be via Zoom. All right, at this time, I'd love to open it up to public comment. I do see several folks from the public here tonight. And I do see your comments, Sandra. So maybe we'll work with Lorena to ensure that the address is there. Oh, there you go. There's the address to the store nearby, so we can add that in the notes. Okay, also not seeing any comments in our live stream that, as some of you who are new to these meetings are streaming live on YouTube. And so it's another way to generate public interest and public comments about the conversations that happen at each of these meetings. As of right now, we're not seeing any questions from the public on YouTube or here at this moment. So I would love to conclude our meeting by thanking everyone for engaging in this work and for your thoughtful and critical questions that you had all night, and conclude our meeting. So I hope everyone has a great evening, and we will talk to you at the next agenda setting meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bianca and Cesar.
Gracias a todos por su programa, muy interesante todo.
Thank you everyone for everything. The program was very interesting. Thank you very much.